Hello and welcome to Nuts and Bolts. Fantastic to have you here. We've got a great session on for you today. Today is all about questions that you should be asking yourself. So as leaders, we need to reflect and ask ourselves questions quite often. And there's some questions that I pose to you that I think are going to be really important for you to ask yourself. So let's get on to it. Okay, so number one, who are the influencers on your team? Now, these are people who have credibility in your team, who the other team members look up to. Really, really important to distinguish who those are. And it's always out of their own personality. They might have a bit of leadership born into them. They might have been there for a long time, so it might be based on experience. Could be a number of things. And the way you can find this out is you can ask your team members, hey, who would be the best person to talk to with regards to, the computer stuff or this line or that? And they'll go, oh, Joe knows everything about that. Suddenly you know that Joe could be quite an influential person on your team. Really, really important to know who these people are, because I tell you what, when change comes in, and let's face it, every company now is quite dynamic in its change. So as change comes down the line, those influencers are going to be really important to turn into champions for that change. To do that, you need to have them on board. Okay, so if your influencers are talking about the change in a really positive manner, all the benefits that it's going to do, all the impact that it's going to have, all the positive things, then that change is going to be taken up really, really easily by your team. If, however, you don't have these influencers on board, then it's going to be a real struggle for you. So find out who your key influencers are on your team. That's one question you should ask yourself. Who are they? The second one, what is expected of me? Okay, so what are you supposed to do? So in module 1, we actually go and have a conversation with our manager. We talk about what's my 60, 90 day plan. What are the things that are coming down the pipeline? How are you going to measure my success? All those sorts of things. That discussion is really, really, really important to have, because you need to know what's expected of you. You might be merrily along going down this way thinking that you're doing a great job, but your boss wants you to go that way, and all of a sudden you're in a one-on-one saying, why are you underperforming? Whoops. Hang on a minute, I'm going down there. No, but I expected you to go that way. So it's really, really important you have those conversations with your manager. If you're not in the Unlocking Portal now and you want to know what that conversation looks like, then email us here at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com, and we will be able to send you out that conversation that you need to have with your manager to really determine what is expected of you, what is it that you should be doing. Third question, how will my success be measured? Again, this is in that conversation that you need to have with your manager. Really, really important. Is your success measured on the team performance? Is your own performance? Is it company performance? Is it measured by, getting to the KPIs? Is it measured by behaviors improving? How are you going to get measured? How do you know that your leadership is being valued? Okay, so really, really important to find this out and ask that question. The fourth one, how are you getting perceived by your new team? So maybe you have a new team around you, maybe you've had your team for a while, but you don't quite know how they take you. This is the perfect time where in your one-on-ones that you're going to have on a regular basis, you're not just going to wait till performance time, you're going to have one-on-ones with your team. This is the perfect time for you to ask feedback. Hey, and give your team some notice that you're going to put this on your agenda for your feedback. Okay, give them a day or so to think about, okay, they're going to ask, this boss is going to ask me, how am I going? So you need to be quite open with what you're going to get back. Okay, so if you're going to ask for feedback, you need to be open with determining what you can do with that feedback once you've received it. So you might get feedback like, yeah, you're great after 10 a.m. Before that, I wouldn't approach you because you seem a bit grumpy. All of a sudden, you're realizing, wow, I didn't know I had that perception out there. But these are things that you can work on and you can make better, and you can become a better version of yourself. And that's fantastic. That's a gift. So, how are you being perceived by your team is a question you need to ask. And if you don't know the answer to that, ask them. Number 5, are you talking enough? Are you sitting in your ivory tower away from everybody and not having a chat? Or are you coming down, talking to your team, talking to them, finding out how their day was, finding out if they need any extra support? What are their roadblocks, barriers, burning platforms? What are the issues that they're facing now? All those sorts of things, really, really important. I don't mean you talk about you. I mean, you ask lots of questions for them and get that conversation happening. So make sure that you are doing that and you're not just stuck in the strategic space where you're not really having an impact on your team. Number 6, are you ready to pay for the price of growth? Ooh, sounds deep and meaningful, doesn't it? So this is all about, are you willing to put in the effort? Because being a leader takes you out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to exercise that courage muscle. You're going to have really confrontational conversations, crucial conversations. You're going to have to delegate. You're going to have to set goals, make your team accountable for those goals. You're going to have to measure their success, all these sorts of things that you've never done in any other job. This is the first time. If you're leading people for the first time, this is the first time you'll have to do it. And it is tough. Okay, this is not a job for the faint-hearted. So leading people can be really, really difficult. So are you ready for this? This will make you grow. This will take you out of your comfort zone. You will learn abundance of things in this role, but you need to understand that you're not perfect at it yet, and that's okay. All right, you don't have all the answers, and that's okay. And that's okay to tell your team too. So if they come to you and say, hey, what are we going to do this time next year with such and such? You know what? I don't know, but it's a great question. How about I go and ask that question to the hierarchy and see what we get back? It's okay not to have all the answers. This is the perfect time for you not to have all the answers, because you'll be growing, you'll be learning, you'll be making mistakes, you'll be learning from those mistakes, you're pulling yourself out of your comfort zone. All these things really, really important. So are you ready to pay the price for growth? All right, number 7, am I protecting what's empowering me? Now, this is a bit of a deep one as well, but what I mean by this is I've seen leaders that get into a leader's position and then they hold on to knowledge because knowledge makes them feel powerful. So they sort of trickle little bits of knowledge out there, but hold on to most of it. I've seen other leaders that they hold on to themselves. They don't share anything of themselves. They want to keep themselves really, really private to their team and have that, that separation, that distance from their team. So what is it that you're holding on to that makes you feel empowered? And is it worth it? So just ask yourself that question. Why are you protecting it? Why does that make you feel empowered? And is there something else you can put in its place that's a little bit more constructive? Okay. Number 8, are you giving yourself space for what you don't know? So what do I mean by this? Are you giving yourself the opportunity to be able to grow and learn yourself? Really, really important as leaders that we have that opportunity to be able to, have a mentor, go and seek advice, go and shadow a really great leader that you think is fantastic. Go to your HR team and learn more about the disciplinary acts and all those sorts of things. You need to give yourself space for what you don't know. So you need to almost once a week say, I'm going to give myself 2 hours to go and find out something about leadership that I didn't know before. You can read books if you're a read-write type person. You can watch videos on YouTube if you're more visually orientated. You can go and speak to people if you, auditory minded and needs that sort of, words spoken to you to really take it in. Whatever works for you. But really important, are you giving yourself the space to learn what you don't know? Number 9, where are you going? Where are you going? Obviously, nobody wants to be that first level leader for their whole time. Well, maybe you do, and that's okay too. But where are you going? If you're staying where you are, then what does that look like? What do you need to do to make that happen long term? If you've got a career stream of where you want to go, what does that look like? And suddenly make time to be able to talk to your bosses about that, talk to your team about that. This is where I'm heading. This is where I want to go. These are the reasons why. Where are you going? And the last but not least, how will your team know that you care? So this is a good one, because I've seen leaders that do care about their team, but they do things like cancel or move their one-on-ones, show up late at meetings, stay late when they're preaching that you should have work-life balance, not setting the example that they should be. So, and that's not because they're bad people. They're doing that because they're really busy. They feel under pressure. They feel like they have to have all the answers. Work-life balance is not great for them, even though they're dictating that their team should have it. So all of these things are not done purposely, but they're done. And then the result of that is that the team feels you don't care. If every time you've got a one-on-one locked in with your particular team members and you've changed it 3 times, you don't care. If you're telling me to have work-life balance and then you turn up at 7 and don't go home till 9 and work through your lunch break, you don't really care if I have work-life balance, because obviously you don't. So those are sorts of things that you've got to be aware of. You don't mean to them to come across as you don't care, but they will. Okay, so how are your team going to know that you care? You're going to keep your promises. So if you scheduled a one-on-one in there, you're going to keep that promise. If there's no possibility that you're going interstate, you're going overseas, whatever may happen, then you go to that person and say, do you know what, Johnny? I've got a one-on-one with you next Thursday. I've just been told I've got to go to New Zealand for the week, but I'm really, really wanting to catch up with you. Can we do it this week, or would you prefer the week after? So you're showing them that you care, but it's just unavoidable. Keep your promises. Make sure you set examples, especially work-life balance and things like that. Make sure that you have that management by walking around and you get to know your team on a personal level as well as a professional level. And make sure you give a bit of yourself too. What are your hobbies? What do you love to do on the weekends? How's your family makeup? What does that look like? Do you have a dog? All those sorts of things. That will tell your team that you care. All right, so I hope that helps. They're 10 questions you should ask yourself as a leader. Really, really important. Take a little while to reflect on them and go over them, and hopefully you'll reveal some things to yourself that you never knew you had before. All right, so I hope that helps. Now, don't forget, next week we're going to be doing what do you do if there's conflict on your team? How are you going to deal with conflict on your team? We're going to talk about that one next week, so don't miss it. If you've got a burning platform, an issue, a concern, anything at all, contact us here at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com. We'll put it on a video. We get it out to you as soon as we possibly can. And that's about it. So until next week, I will see you later. Take care. Have a great week. Bye.